Welcome to today's Software AG webcast titled Accelerate Your Business Transformation in the Telecom Industry. Today's program will be presented by Joost Grond, Global Industry Director for Communications, Media, Services and Utilities at Software AG, Alfred Anaya-Dubernard, Director of Conformance Certification and Digital Maturity Services at TM Forum, and Levent Gersad, Senior Enterprise Architect at Turk Telecom. As we move through today's program, we invite you to submit any questions you have. To submit questions, please click on the question mark icon toward the top right side of the panel on your webcast dashboard. Type your question at the bottom of the column and hit send when you're ready. Should we not have time to get to your question, your submission will be noted, and one of our speakers will be back in touch with you as soon as possible. Here now to begin our program today is Joost Grond.
Thanks, Will, and welcome also from my side. My name is Joost Grond, Global Industry Director of in Software AG for Comms, Media, Services and Utilities. I'm trying to, I think I still see your slide, Will, right?
Yes, you do. You want me to pass it to you? You want me to do it like we were going to?
You can pass it to me. That's Okay, can you confirm that you see my slide?
I do not.
Sorry about that. Let's go to the initial setup then if you share your slide.
Very good.
Okay, so sorry about the the delay in the start, everybody, but welcome also from my side, as I said already. And before we go to our guest speakers this afternoon, let me show you a few slides just to set the scene for why we think from a business perspective it's extremely, business process management is extremely important for the telco sector. And also the importance of eTOM as a business process framework. We said already in the beginning of in the introduction of this webinar that when you look over the past decade, the volume of data traffic has grown 100-fold on average when you look at CSPs in the western part of the world. And you would think that, I mean, that means on one side, of course, that there's been a lot of investments in infrastructure in terms of making the capacity available, but also making the speed available. And you would think that is good news for the telco sector. But when we look at some of the surveys, and there's several surveys done on this, and this is now one which is done by McKinsey, which I'm showing here. Then you see on the left-hand side, in the picture on the left-hand side, McKinsey compared a group of 8 top internet companies, so the Googles, the Metas, etc. of this world, to the top 25 telco operators, and looked at the period between 2014 and 2019. And then when you look at the total profit pool created by these companies, in 2014, the lion's share of these profits was still with the telco operators with about 75%. But that profit clearly shifted in the next 5 years, going towards 2019, with more than 60% of the profits with the internet companies, where the overall, in absolute terms, the profit stayed more or less the same. You see that at the bottom, I think there's a 5% increase there. That also reflected then in the next graph here with the market in terms of market cap, where in 2014 the market cap was almost equally divided, with a slight majority for the top 5 telcos. There was a clear shift of the value towards the top 8 internet companies, which took about 80% of the market cap by 2019. And you also have to note then at the bottom again that in absolute terms, the market caps of these companies almost doubled. So a clear value shift from the telco sector to the internet companies. And at the same time, also there was a tremendous change in customer behavior, which during the pandemic leapfrogged for a number of years in terms of the acceptance of online and digital to engage with their customers, and people expecting also online self-service customer care experience. So this is very important from an economic perspective. If we then go to the next slide, please, Will, then on the next slide, basically when you look at the telco sector, three of the main developments which we see is, first of all, the introduction of new business models. So as I said already, tremendous growth in data, and data being processed to extract value from this data at various places in the system. And at the same time, mainly driven by the introduction of new technologies, these new business models in terms of everything as a service, which is quite new for the telco sector. And basically, these everything as a service offers creates new growth opportunities. For instance, with new technologies like 5G, which are valued by, in this case, Bain and Company at about $400 billion by 2025. And I think there's various surveys on that. I believe TM Forum, if I remember correctly, even indicated a higher value there of about 700 billion by 2030 or something like that. So tremendous growth opportunity on one side. Then customer experience management becoming more and more important for CSPs, because customers get more and more used to a customer experience that is created by digital natives, so by the web scale players, and CSPs need to match that customer experience. And at the same time, and that's from a survey from Forrester, the telco sector is one of the industry verticals which has the highest potential to increase revenues when improving customer experience. So a very important focus area. And then thirdly, the telco sector, CSPs. The sector has grown over the past decades, also a lot of times through acquisitions and mergers. And I think we will hear something about that also in Levent's presentation from Turk Telecom. But that means also that the sector has to address their legacy processes and legacy systems, which, according to Gartner, creates significant technical debt, which could take up to 40% of the IT budgets by 2025. And then one more click, Will, please. That means that in order to be able to address this new business opportunity, and in order to be able to both invest in the technology, but also set up the organization to address these new business opportunities, CSPs need to look into their core business and need to streamline their processes and automate processes where possible. So that makes business process management overall extremely important for the success of that transformation. If you then go to the next slide, Will, please. So what does that mean for CSPs? First of all, if you want to address new business models, you need to have a solid strategy implementation and related operational models. Secondly, the current transformation of legacy processes and systems is going way too slow. The market is moving a lot faster. And thirdly, the lack of visibility and control of the customer journey has a negative impact on this customer experience. So these are, from our perspective, the main challenges which the industry is battling with, and which to a large extent also is trying to be addressed by TM, the work done in TM Forum. If you go to the next slide, Will. So I think this is a good moment after this introduction to hand over to Alfred Anaya Dubenar, from TM Forum to talk about the work they're doing on ODA and eTOM.
Thank you very much, Joris. Yes, it's my pleasure to be here with you today. So I'm going to introduce you briefly to the TM Forum, and we'll speak to you about eTOM for the next 15 minutes or so. So let me just go over here to my slides. Okay, so the TM Forum, in fact, TM Forum is a global non-for-profit industry association traditionally working for its members and by its members, acting as a lighthouse within the industry to define best practices in the form of blueprints, frameworks, and standards for telecoms and IT transformation. TM Forum's membership has been gathering for more than a decade, over 800 organizations from across the world, involving all sectors of our industry. But TM Forum's remit continues to expand, enabling the broader digital business fabric underpinned by communications technology. Here you can see some of the key facts, like more than 100,000 member professionals are involved in various activities within TM Forum. These are known as collaboration activities. It's an ecosystem of members where they contribute to develop our TM Forum assets, and they can consume those assets as they are being generated by all the community of members. The 10 out of 10 of the world's largest CSPs are active TM Forum members. So this is a key fact. And you can see from this map that TM Forum has a global presence, and it actually gathers all of the major, CSPs and then all of the key and major players of the telecoms industry, not only globally but also regionally. And so TM Forum often has been known by some of its flagship frameworks, like eTOM, for instance. Some people even know perhaps more about eTOM than the TM Forum, or at least for some years it has been so. But actually, TM Forum offers a lot more, than eTOM or SID or any of those core frameworks that have made it famous over the years. There are a number of topics that are offered to its members, like you can see here: artificial intelligence, data and insights, autonomous operations. This is about zero-touch operations and autonomous networks and so on. Cloud native and IT networks, enabling plug and play. And this is pretty much focusing on the, also on the cloud concept, and beyond connectivity, unleashing growth by delivering future fit connectivity. So that's going beyond connectivity. This is about transforming the operating models of traditional telcos to become more ecosystem oriented and being able to leverage partners in the ecosystem and offer services and products that have beyond, that have more value beyond just the traditional connectivity. And then customer experience and trust. This is all about customer experience management, customer journey management, and how to actually manage and succeed in achieving customer satisfaction, and how to measure that, and so on and so forth. So we have a number of activities around that topic. And then the human factor, which is certainly not last and actually not least. In fact, it's about the cultural factor, where talent and diversity need to be managed, and especially the ability for the humans, the human factor, so the human resources, to be able to transform and to change according to the challenges of the digital transformation. So all of these activities are actually delivered through four main resources or channels. So there's the so-called labs. These are in fact groups of activities that are offered through the TM Forum portal. So labs, which are member projects that actually involve, member collaboration and building up code and testing and actually producing, solutions that are delivered to the community. And then knowledge, there's a guidance, a series of guides and technical specifications, various documents, frameworks, and so on and so forth. And then there's code plus framework. So this is real code and practical guides, crowdsourced. Everything is pretty much crowdsourced here by members and for members and ready to be used, ready for consumption. And then training plus accreditation with a very broad, very wide portfolio of training and certification available to members to upskill, people and human resources. These are all very important, very critical aspects that need to be managed as part of the challenges of the digital transformation. So now I'll talk to you a little bit about the Open Digital Framework. So the so-called Open Digital Framework comprises tools, code, knowledge, and standards. We can think of the Open Digital Framework as being the overall umbrella that actually houses all of the assets of the TM Forum, including, transformation guides, maturity tools, maturity frameworks. We have about 12 maturity frameworks, that have been published in different topics. The most significant of which is the digital maturity model, which is pretty much the best, perhaps the best known and the most widely used to do assessments of maturity for the digital transformation. There are also metrics there's about close to 3,000 metrics that have been published and developed and published. There's benchmark data, there's artificial intelligence training, there's transformation tools, and so on. But most of all, at the heart of the Open Digital Framework, there's the ODA, or Open Digital Architecture. This is a new paradigm, so to say, in the overall enterprise architecture that has been developed and is being developed by TM Forum and its members for the last 5 years or so. And here you can see this Open Digital Architecture houses, in fact, all of the core frameworks of the TM Forum, those frameworks that have made the TM Forum famous. They are still there, of course, the Business Process Framework, better known as eTOM, and then the Information Framework, better known as SID, or commonly known as SID. And then there's also a business capability repository. So all of these two, the eTOM and the business capabilities, are part of the business architecture in the ODA. And then there's information systems architecture, where we have as I mentioned, the SID, or information framework. There's a functional framework, which actually is somehow derived from the TAM. For those of you who may have known or know the TAM, the Telecom Applications Map, this is the application framework. And this is actually being repurposed and rebranded somehow, re-architected, we could say, as a framework of functions, as a functional framework, actually, which is linked to a functional architecture. And this is the basis in the architecture cycle for the specification of architecture components. So in the implementations, the following implementation phase within the ODA cycle, there's the technical architecture and components. So this is where ODA components are being specified and developed, along with open APIs. So we have currently in TM Forum over 70 or so open APIs in production. And these are, quite strategic, quite important assets, because they actually allow to integrate, application components and technical components as defined in the ODA framework. And of course, there are extensions of the traditional data model, the information framework SID. There are specific extensions to accommodate the needs of open APIs and then technical components from ODA. And then finally, there's the deployment and runtime architecture, or stage. We can think of these as being architecture domains or stages of an architecture cycle, which is referred to as ODA. Here we have deployment and runtime, where there's an ODA canvas which is made available. This is like a set of tools. It's like a toolkit along with like a sandbox environment, which has a number of capabilities and functionality that is made available for the development of application components, ODA components. And then we have some, reference implementations that are given there for a purpose of, for reference and for examples of code and so on, and how to develop functional components and so on. And then there's also a governance framework. So I won't extend more on this topic, but so that's the open digital architecture, which is really now housing all of the core frameworks of the TM Forum, amongst which we have the eTOM, which is the main, the most important topic here that I'm going to talk to you about. So the eTOM, which has been there for a very long time now, I mean, more than actually 30 years, because it started as the TOM, the Telecom Operations Map, in the 90s. And this is the time when the TM Forum was known as a network management forum, which, had a very strong orientation towards covering the network layers of the enterprise architecture for telecoms mostly. And then this actually moved into expanding its scope beyond network and to services, applications, and business architecture mostly. And so it became a TM Forum in the year 2000. Along with that change, the traditional TOM in those days, the Telecom Operations Map, was rebranded and renamed eTOM, and eTOM stands for Extended Telecom Operations Map, or Extended TOM. Now, the TOM has been very innovative from the beginning, because as a main difference compared to traditional process models that you can see some examples of here on the left. These are, traditional process models are blocks, monolithic blocks of processes, or these are boxes which represent core processes, and then these are broken down into lower granularity, representing level 3 processes, which again decompose into level 4s, tasks, and then activities, and then operations, and then steps, and whatever it might be. This is just a very linear decomposition, the way it has been traditionally. But the eTOM brought a very innovative concept of bringing in the notion of these vertical, they were known as process groupings, and these verticals represented stages in the life cycle of an enterprise, starting with strategy, and then infrastructure. It's about building up, rolling out infrastructure across the enterprise, and then managing your product portfolio, so product life cycle management, and then from there transitioning to operations, where you will find fulfillment, assurance, and billing. These are the traditional heavyweight, so to say, dedicated process groupings that actually support customer. So this is the hierarchical, the life cycle structure of vertical process groupings, and that comes along with the horizontal domains, as they are known, or layers, and they together represent more of a hierarchical, construct of process domains, where we start with at the top the business-oriented domain, so the BSS. That's where BSS is making a lot of sense, where you have marketing and sales. So let me move to the next slide. So market and sales, and then customer and product. This is the traditional footprint for BSS, the BSS boundaries of processes and applications and so on. And then we have below, we have service and resource. These are very much OSS centric. And then we have business partner and enterprise, where these, especially enterprise, is pretty much known as where all of the ERP, enterprise resource planning processes, are defined. And so here we have horizontally, we have a hierarchical construct, where the business domain on the top is actually somehow has primacy over the other domains, because business architecture is where all of the requirements, business objectives, business goals are defined, the business model, and so on. And then that generates the initial requirements that have to be propagated or communicated to the other, subordinate domains of product, service, resource, and so on and so forth. This is a very universal enterprise architecture principle. So that's why one may wonder, why do we have market and sales at the top, and then customer and product, and then followed by the others, because there's a notion of hierarchical positioning, depending on where there is the generation of requirements and how those requirements are communicated across the different architecture domains as functional requirements, technical requirements, and so on. And then we're going to see corresponding capabilities, technical capabilities, functional capabilities, and business capabilities that are then provided from the bottom up. So from the subordinate layers to the layers to the business architecture layer, actually. Now here we see the core processes. So these core processes, they represent all of the the most relevant processes for a communication service provider type of enterprise, right? So by looking at these core processes, you can derive what industry you're looking into. So if you're thinking about a telco or a communication service provider, just by looking at these core processes, what they are, you will find here, the typical resource mediation and reporting, customer bill invoice management, customer order handling, service configuration, activation, and so on and so forth. So all of these processes are core processes, and they definitely reflect the business model of the industry that we're looking at. And so most common uses of the eTOM as an enterprise process map, every enterprise has to have a process map. They should have a process map, because if you're going to navigate your processes, how do you do that if you don't have a process map? In the same way as you navigate when you move from one country to another, or you move from one place to another, you need a map, right? So you have to map your processes somehow. And this mapping is, the eTOM provides you with this ready-made hierarchical view, life cycle, structure, so to say, that gives you a pretty good view, pretty good positioning of the processes within your enterprise. And of course, it's a matter of adapting those. So in other words, you adopt the standard, and then you can extend that. You can adapt it to your enterprise by making extensions and specific extensions according to your specific requirements. So another common use is defined project scope, because when you look at, here you can talk about projects that are related to, for example, billing, projects that are related to customer experience management, projects that are related to product lifecycle management, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely it can give you a pretty good scope for project, defining project boundaries and so on. Support for procurement requests also, the eTOM includes for each and all of its processes a set of implied functional requirements in their definitions, in the definition of the process. So these implied functional requirements can be used as an entry point for, specifying the type of requirements that a procurement request may have, that an RFP or an RFI may have. As a starting point, it's not like you get everything out of the box, of course not, but you get a baseline that will save you a lot of time. And the next is transforming and improving business processes. So that's certainly quite a strategic aspect, because you need to always maintain your processes, improve your processes, transform your processes to according to the needs of the evolution. So in line with the evolution of the market and the industry. So you always need to, of course, automate your processes is great, but make sure you're automating optimal processes, excellent processes. If you're automating bad processes, then that's not gonna work. And then mapping roles and organizations. So in fact, referencing, with the functional architecture. So in other words, organizations, roles, and remember about the RACI, not the RACI, sorry, the RACI or RASCI, which is, responsible, accountable, and so on, informed, consult. And this is, how you actually distribute, process responsibility across the organization. So that's also a very important aspect. And then finally, focusing process related discussions. So everybody speaking the same language, everybody referring to the same industry reference model and so on. That's also very helpful to avoid confusion. And then finally, this is the testimonial about all what I'm saying here is that, the eTOM has been very successful throughout its history of more than, almost 30 years or so. And you can see here by the sheer fact that we have certified, TM has certified more than 100 product solutions and implementations. So product solutions are mostly from vendors, equipment manufacturers, and so on. But then we have implementations from telcos or service providers who have adopted and adapted in their own operation environment or so. They have implemented the eTOM, and they have come to us to request to review their implementation and so on, and to certify that it is indeed aligned to or conformant to the specifications of the eTOM, right? So this is really a testimonial, and again, as I said, we have more than 60 unique member companies, and with more than 100 product solutions or implementations that have been certified, and this is over the last 12 years practically, because performance certification started really back in 2009. Actually, was the first year. And that's basically it for me. So I'm going to hand over to Levent Gürsel from Turk Telekom.
Thank you, Alfred. Hello, everyone. This is Levent Gürsel speaking from Turk Telekom. I'm a senior enterprise architect working at Turk Telekom for like 6 years now. And in the past, I have worked in various industries as systems analyst, EA consultant, system integrator consultant, and lastly, as an enterprise architect. Today, I will talk about the transformation projects of Turk Telekom and also how we adopt and use and utilize ARIS and how it helps us on our journey to transformation. So let's start with Turk Telekom, what kind of company it is. It's the leading GSM operator and also the communication services provider in Turkey with many integrated telecom services. We have like more than 372,000 kilometers of fiber network in like 81 cities. We are serving 52 million subscribers, and we are covering 99% of the population, and with like more than 30,000 employees. So when we talk about Turk Telekom, I can say that we are offering more than 300 communication services to our customers. This can range from, let's say, the digital network to colocation services or security services or other, GSM, mobile, and such. So, if I tell about our transformation and the merger process of Turk Telekom entities, we can date back to 6 years ago. There was a merger of legal entities, TTNet, it was the DSL company, and Avea was the mobile brand, and Turk Telekom is the fixed telephony company of, let's say, more than 100 years. So all these major entities were merged under one brand of Turk Telekom, and the project was named Mosaic. It basically started with a process re-engineering and documenting of all these processes. So when you merge these big entities, you have to define the operating model, and later you have to think about the product and services and how you deliver all these product and services to millions of customers. So there was a lot of parties involved in such a big project, and there was a huge transformation. And I will tell about how we used ARIS and the importance of business processes. So when you do such project, you have to collect people on big war rooms and big meeting rooms, and you have to decide first on the the operating model and the business and how it works. So once you dig into deeper discussions, you have to document your processes, and you have to distribute it and share it with a bigger audience, and you have to be sure that everyone is on the same page and everyone is agreed. And so once the project is closed, there will be no questions, and everyone will have an idea of the business and how it will work. So in such a project, of course, the business is the main driver, and they have the strategies and the goals. But all this, the strategies is passed to the IT side, and I'm actually an IT guy, and the pressure when you have a lot of things to do in your IT agenda. This comes from the business, and you have to be quick and fast. And when we model our business processes during workshops, we use ARIS. ARIS is the leading business process management platform. And once we discussed and handshaked on the business processes, we did the business process modeling in ARIS with the joint efforts of business parties, and we also worked with the Boston Consulting Group because it was a big project, and we also had to get help from the global best practices. So what's the main facilitators we use to develop such process architecture? So once you start such work, first you have to do some major documentation. You can do it on Excel. At first, we used actually Excel from the beginning. I mean, how you classify? There were like hundreds of processes. First, you have to document them in a tabular format, and you have to see what you are dealing with. There were just the names of the level 2 and level 3 processes. That's a huge list, and you also utilize the TM form standards. TM form is the industry standard, and it comes with the framework. So you can see where you are missing and where you are good at, or where you have missing capabilities. You can do major capability analysis, and you can drill down through these TM form models, and you can utilize application map, also the process map, telecom operations map, eTOM. eTOM is for processes, and it comes with the industry standard of hundreds of processes. It's very detailed. It goes down to level 3, and at some parts we also used for the level 4. I mean, when you talk about level 4, it's the activity level, and we also utilized the TM forum framework about defining the level 4 processes. And also the best practices. I said we work with Boston Consulting. They came with some best practices. What other companies are doing, what's the global challenge and the global practices. We also utilize them, and you remember the Excel on the first step, but you cannot go with Excel all the way. You have to model all these processes on an EA tool. And as I said, we used ARIS, and we used ARIS Publisher to distribute them among the company. So we did some sort of structural view, and you have to drill down to reach the low-level processes, because when you have hundreds of processes at a company like Türk Telekom, you cannot just go with an Excel or an other tool. You have to use some modeling and drill up and drill down and navigate through all these process entities. Because such structure is needed, and if you do not structure things, you will get lost easily. And that's why TM forum-like structures are important, because what other companies are dividing their processes and grouping them, and you can check yours, and you can define your missing capabilities. Returning back to ARIS side, as I said, we have 800 like critical Türk Telecom business processes are modeled, and we have how do you run such structure? I mean, as the business changes, you have to change the process models to keep them up to date, and honestly speaking, it's also a job. So you need some organizational change department or strategy department that's focused on the management of this huge business process set. I'm a technology guy, but you know, when it comes to processes, you also have to get the business support because they are the biggest stakeholder in such project when you want to document your business processes. But at the end of the day, it's the commodity of the company, and both the business and the IT uses this. And it's also important for the compliance, regulatory issues, and the transparency. And you can do better domain analysis, and other, you know, impact analysis are easily done if you have such structure. Think about an IT project. It's affecting a specific domain, and you have to see which domains are affected, and business wants to pass the requirements to the IT side, and IT wants to understand. If you have such business process repository, it's easy to do, but otherwise you are just exploring everything in a specific IT project, and it's never-ending discovery if you do not have an up-to-date business process repository. So yes, going back to the TM Forum tools, we also know the importance of open digital framework and TM Forum tools from the very beginning, and Türk Telekom is also you know, joining such efforts with TM Forum. As I said, every company has its own ways of doing business, but there is the framework that everyone can use. Of course, it will be extended on the level 4 or level 5. It's pretty sure, because every company is specific products and specific services, and the processes are changing at some level. But on the higher levels and higher process groupings, you can see that most companies are focusing on the very similar things. And as I said, we utilize the TM Forum business process framework eTOM, and we are also working on the SID data entities architecture. Also, the open APIs is the hot topic nowadays. We are working with many different software companies, and once they develop REST services, web services, and such other, you know, application integration interfaces, we are checking the TM Forum documentation, and we are trying to be as much as industry compliant. So when we are having an RFP, we are, you know, evaluating the company from their compliance with the TM Forum as well. So what are the other improvement areas for us, and what are we focusing on? I mean, yes, we have like 1,000 applications in Türk Telekom. We have to map them, and we have to do better analysis with the TM specific to TM Forum domains, and we have to, you know, do better analysis on domain-specific investments. We are working on that. We are building the cost structure. I mean, you have a lot of applications, but you have to know how much you are spending on the sales domain, the market domain, the customer domain, the billing domain, or the resource domain. Are you overspending, or where's the money going? You have to do such analysis. whether it be on the processes, on domains, on the capabilities. You have to define a structure. So we are working also on such ideas, and we are thinking about an architecture-specific metrics dashboard for internal use of IT. It will have an architectural view, like how many applications we close, how many new applications we have, like which processes are supported with which applications, which processes have most important and they have most IT applications supporting them. Such metrics, we started developing such dashboards. So when you do such kind of analysis, first you have to invest in the processes, and then you need to have an up-to-date portfolio of applications, and you have to do the mappings, and then later you have to fill all this structure with the data, and constantly people must update this structure. Other things, we are focusing on the private cloud migration. We invested on a private cloud and moving some application on the private cloud. We are increasing the robotic process automation and low-code usage for future. We are believing that they will benefit us. And we are also focusing on increasing IT and business alignment, better impact analysis with further investments, and improving all this process model, and with a better detailed view, and enriching the architecture content meta model of Türk Telekom. So you are investing in such architecture, business processes, applications, and other data, and you have to keep this up to date, and you have to extend it with new requirements, maybe other servers, let's say with microservices transition, other specific modeling. All this can happen, and the requirements are changing, and currently that's our situation at Türk Telekom. Thank you. Jos?
Yes, thanks, Levent, for this important insight on how you used ARIS and eTOM in Türk Telekom. Will, can I ask you to share the last two slides for me again? I think that's probably easiest. Two slides back, please. Yes, this one. Okay, so I hope during the past 45 minutes or so, 50 minutes, we have been able to share a little bit of what is going on in the business process management side in the telco sector. Key from our perspective, I mean, another term that has been coined for the past couple of years is also for moving from telco to techco. And key success factors there is to have full visibility and transparency within your existing processes to make better business decisions, and be able to address changing market needs. The second part is, as we talked already about, it's important to build customer-centric processes. And the third part is also to have the necessary controls in place to be able to comply with legal requirements, but also with regulatory changes, etc., in the telco space. So, Will, if you go to the next slide, please. ARIS is Software AG's business process management platform. That has been in use already in various industries for more than 30 years. And within ARIS, we have built a content package for eTOM to help you as a CSP to quicker get up to speed with using eTOM in your practice. And as Alfred and Levent already alluded to, and amend the standard model then to your specific requirements and needs. And the ARIS content package for eTOM is available for free, so can be downloaded from the ARIS download center on the Software AG website. If you want to know more about eTOM for ARIS, or even a bit broader, we've been doing some work with one of our partners, Buhati, on the open digital architecture. Then please do not hesitate to reach out to us so we can go into that in more detail. Next slide, please, Will. So that brings us to the Q&A. I'm looking at the time. I guess we have slightly been overrunning our timeline, but we have still time for 1 or 2 questions. Can I ask my fellow presenters also to switch on their camera again? So maybe as a first question, I guess for Alfred, you talked about the fact that the eTOM model has been available and has been evolving over the past, I think you said 30 years even. Can you say a bit more about what are the focus areas going forward now with eTOM? Because I think TM Forum on a regular basis is publishing updates of the current eTOM model. So where are you focusing on there?
Well, in fact, the eTOM is always linked to the trends, the industry trends, the digital transformation topics, and so on. So there's been, for a few years now, a trend to actually work together with our members to improve the eTOM and to make it evolve in some of the, for example, customer experience management topics. This is one of those that has been on the table, and it's been, there's been quite a bit of work done in that sense. Actually defining customer journey management, customer lifecycle management, customer experience management, and all of these topics have been on the table and have been, actually keeping busy, the collaboration teams. And then there are other topics. Some of those topics are related to maintaining the eTOM, to improving the eTOM, because it's very, very challenging to keep the whole process model up to date and to make sure that all of the processes are mature enough in terms of their definitions and so on that they can deliver value to the industry, and that's a matter of maturity as well. So some of the processes in the eTOM are defined with a lot of very fine detail and all the way down to level 6, level 7 decomposition. But some of the processes are still only down to level 3 and so on. So it's quite challenging, but that represents another piece of work, is to continue developing the eTOM to the point where it is all in a uniformly mature, so to say. And then, in addition to that, of course, introduce the topics like, automation, autonomous networks, artificial intelligence, all of these hot topics, all of the, native, cloud native, and all of the integration aspects, related to the ecosystem partners, and so on and so forth. All of these are topics that are being right now worked upon to further evolve the eTOM. Yeah. I think you're on mute.
Thank you, Alfred. Yeah, so thank you. And then maybe one question for Levent. You've been working, Turk Telecom has been working for a couple of years now with ARIS as a business process management platform, obviously. Can you say something about how ARIS was introduced in Turk Telecom, and what, in terms of organizational setup, you had to set up to use it effectively?
Yeah, it's been, as I said, I have been in Turk Telecom more than 6 years, but ARIS was in Turk Telecom like 10 years, as I know. It's been long for ARIS tool. And what kind of organization we have? we have a centric organization, centric group. They define the standards. They oversee the way of working, and they specialized in business processes. That there is a team of like 5 persons in organizational change department, and also there are process designers under business units. They are also capable of designing business processes, and on some domains are important for the company, not, let's say, product domains. I mean, customer and market sales, such domains are touching the customer, and on those domains we have more mature business processes and more people working on these processes. But it's not the same for all domains of the company. As I said, it's customer specific domains. And I'm on the enterprise architecture team, and we are not, we are checking the process repository, but we are not doing business process modeling. That's how it works on our side.
Okay, thank you, Levent. I'm looking at the time. I think we have to close down, and we don't have time for further questions. So, as Will said already in the beginning, we'll come back to any further questions to you after this session. So, the only thing that's that for me then is to thank you very much to my fellow presenters, to Levent Gürschel from Turk Telecom and Alfred Anaya Dubenard from TM Forum, and I'm handing back to Will Carter for the final words.
Yes, thank you very much. We just want to bring to your attention our next ARIS program that you can now see on your screen. It is Process Mining and Modeling, Why They Are Better Together. That program will take place on September 22nd, so we invite you to visit our website, softwareag.com. You can register for this program at the events section, which is located under the About tab on the top right side of our page. So with that, a very warm thank you to everybody for taking time from their day to join this webinar. And again, a warm thank you to Alfred, Levent, and Jos for a very interesting presentation today. With that, our program has ended. Enjoy the rest of your day.